Alright, hey guys, welcome to this video. Haven't put up a video in a long time, but my microphone was broken, so I have now a temporary mic. Hopefully this one is okay. We'll see when we're done. Anyways, welcome. In this video, I'm going to I'm going to demonstrate CosmosDB, what CosmosDB is, how we can use it, and also create a quick implementation with using C# and .NET. So here I have started a Visual Studio project, and we're gonna create a new console application. So basically, in this project, we're gonna use some MongoDB, create a simple CRUD application, and then we're gonna connect this MongoDB database to our Cosmos DB database in Azure and upload the data there. Make sure that it works. So we're gonna give this We're gonna call this project Mongo CRUD or Mongo Azure demo. Sure. Next. I'm using .NET 7. .NET 8 has been released, but I haven't had the time to read any of the updates or watch any of the conferences. So I'm falling behind on that, but that's fine. That's fine. .NET 7 works for now. Here we go. So this is our project, and again, we will do a couple of different things. The first thing we need to do is we need to install our drivers, right? So in order to work with MongoDB, we're gonna go here, NuGet Package Manager, NuGet Package Manager solution, and we're gonna download the MongoDB .driver. This one, MongoDB .driver. I'm gonna install it. There we go. Accept. Then now that this has been installed, I'm going to create. So I want to upload something to the database. I'm going to create let's say well, I'm going to create a folder. Let's call it data, right? So let's create a new folder. Add folder. Let's call it data, right? This will hold all our database logic. In this class, I'll create a new class. Or in this folder, I'll create a new class. I'll call this Mongo CRUD. Add. So there we go. Now we have a class that will act as our database reference, right? In this class, let's add. Well, actually, before we do that, let's create the actual the classes we need, the models we need. So we want to send up some kind of data to the Cosmos DB or to the database, and in order for us to do that, we need to create some classes, right? So I'm gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call this folder models. Models, and in this models folder, I'll create two new classes. I'll add a class called let's call it user, sure, and then I'll add a new another class. Let's call it address. So we have a user and we have an address, right? So the user or the user model, I should have named it user model, but it doesn't really matter. So the user model is going to have a couple of properties. It's going to have a ID, so public grid. We could use object ID or grid, it doesn't really matter. Let's use grid for this example. Public string name get set, public int age get set, and then let's also do public address get set, right? So now we have to form this. So that's it for our user model. We're also going to add a data annotation. This is bison ID, bison ID, like so. So it will map this to our ID property. And then for the address model, let's keep this one simple. So public string street, let's call it street. So the street, public string city, sure, public string zip code, maybe zip code get set, and then let's do public string state if you're from the US. There we go. That's our properties for this class. So now we have two models. We have a user model and we have an address model, right? And for every user, we want to create a document. And if you don't know about MongoDB, maybe you should go and look at a tutorial for MongoDB. I won't be explaining what MongoDB is in this video, or like the theory behind it. I'm just going to use MongoDB in order to achieve my end goal, which is showing off Cosmos DB. So now that we have our models, the address model and the user model, we can go ahead, go back to our Mongo CRUD and actually implement the boilerplate code we will need for the database in order for the database to work. So we'll add a reference to our interface, so private Mongo database, and let's call it DB, right? And then we'll create a constructor, so public Mongo CRUD, yes, hello. And this constructor should have one parameter. Let's call it string database, sure. And then in here we'll create a new client, var client equals new Mongo client. And we don't need a connection string here. So first off, I'm going to connect to my local database to make sure everything works right with the logic. So I'm going to connect to my local database first, and then I'll connect to Azure and I'll add a connection string. So you only need a connection string if you're connecting to a database which isn't your local database, right? If you're connecting to your local database, which is in your computer, then you can just leave it blank and it will connect to your local database. And here we go, DB client get database. That's kind of what we need in order to actually get going, right? So I'm going to create a CRUD functionality, right? So CRUD functionality. So basically create, read, update, delete. And because I want to keep this video as short as possible, I'm going to limit the amount of runs. I'm just going to dash out the code that's needed. So yeah, let's go. Let's start off with the add user, right? Add user. So we'll create a method, public void add user. This will take in a string table, right? We'll call it table, or let's call it actually collection. And then we'll have a user, right? We'll send a user. So which user do we want to add? And here we'll do var collection equals db.get collection, and then we'll do user. We'll map it to user, and then the name of our collection, which will be passed like down there. And then we want to do collection dot insert insert one. Let's do insert one, and then we'll insert the user like so. So I have an error, is because why is it? Oh, it's because I called these things the same thing, right? I shouldn't. Okay, so let's actually call this table, right? Tables, or let's call it what do we call it? Well, it's actually a container, right? It's going to go in a container. I'm just going to use table as a placeholder name. So basically, which collection do you want, right? And the table is going to be users or employees or whatever collection we want to fetch, right? And then this will work. So this is the insert one, or add a user. I'm going to remove this, right? So we have a bit more space. And now let's go get all users. So public, and this will return a list of all the users. So user, yeah, get users, like so. This is also going to have two arguments. It's going to have, just one string. Let's also call it table, and we're going to do the same thing. So var collection get this one, like so, and then here we'll do return collection. We could actually, I think we could now. Let's do collection dot find. Yeah, let's do dot find, and here we want to find all the documents. Oops, true to list. There we go. So that should work for get all users. We'll see eventually. I forgot something somewhere. No, I didn't. Okay. So let's get all users. So we have our create and we have our read. Let's now make our let's do get user by ID as well while we're at it, right? So public this will return one user. Let's call it get get oops get hello get user by ID, like so. Don't actually have to call it get user by ID, but whatever. String and table, sure, and this will take in a grid. This, yeah, sure, grid. Let's take in a grid. Yeah, let's take in a grid, and let's call it ID. We could also just pass in the object, but whatever. And here we'll do same var collection. Can actually just copy paste that again, because we're getting the same table all the time, or the same collection from the database. That's my ID anyways. So and here, so this will return a user, or this is supposed to return a user, so we'll do return, and then we'll make this collection and we'll make it as queryable, and then we'll do to list, and then this list, let's query it, let's find, because we just want to find one, we just want to return one person. We'll do x, where x ID equals to ID. There we go. Did I call it ID? Yeah, I did. Sure. So that should also work. So let's get user by ID. I think that should work. We'll see. We'll fix the issues as we go. And then we'll create the next one, which is update. So public void update update user. Let's not return this or return anything here. And we're gonna do string table, and then we'll use the user. So which user do you want to update? We'll just pass that user in here, right? And we'll hard code it. That's fine. And here we'll do the same, var collection get collection. And what do we want to change? Well, we need to update. So let's do user dot name. So let's change the name of that user to, for example, I don't know, potato, right? So whatever his name was, it's now potato. And then collection. And let's do replace one actually. So let's do replace one. And then which one do we want to replace? We have three. We need three arguments here. We'll do so we need a filter. So we want to replace where x.id equals to user.id exactly. And then the second filter, we need what do we want to replace? We want to replace the user itself, or with what? So it's the user we want to use. And then we need a replacement option. So we need to do new replacement options. And then in here we'll put was it, I think, is up, yeah, is upsert, oops, excuse me. So I need the thingamajiggies, curly brackets, and is upsert equals to true. There we go. I think I did one too many. Oh yeah, I did this one. I don't need this one because, yeah, stupid me, silly me. Okay, so there we go. Now that's our update user. That should also work. I'm fairly sure this will work. Let's do our last one, which is delete user. So public void delete user, and this one should also take in a couple of parameters. Let's do string table, and then it should take in one user. We just call it user. Do same var collection get the collection, and then we'll do collection dot delete delete one. There we go. And which one do we want to delete? Well, the same. So where ID equals to user.id. So basically the user will pass in, that's the one we'll delete. So now I have this code, and I think this code should work. Let's go try it out real fast. So I'm going to my I'm going to save this, going to go to my program.cs. I'm going to remove this hello world, and let's actually down here let's create some methods that calls this data, right? So let's call static void add user. So this one we'll call the add user method, right? And then we'll do static void uh, static void add user get user. So let's call it this get users, right? So static void get users. And we can use this one to. We can also actually static void get user by ID, like so. And then we had static void. Static void update user. And then the last one was static void delete user, like so. So now we have some methods that we can call from the main function to do this, just because I'm lazy. And here we'll do our reference. So we'll do static Mongo. What did I call it? MongoDB. Yeah, MongoDB. And let's call it DB equals new Mongo DB. What did I call it? I call it Mongo CRUD. Sorry, new static Mongo CRUD. There we go. Ilikama new Mongo CRUD. And let's call this. So what will we call our database? Let's call it user DB. And the reason I'm putting a constructor is or a string here is because I created a constructor which takes in a string, the database name, and then initialize that if it doesn't exist already. So we're gonna call user DB, and I'm also gonna create a list here that contains the users. So whenever I fetch all the users from the database, I'm going to store them locally here, right? So new list users, sure. There we go. Okay, use, sure, very nice. Okay, so let's start with our add user. So in order for us to add a user, we actually need to create a user. So I'm going to create a user equals to new user, and then we're going to initiate that user. Name equals sure, his name is test. Age equals whatever, 23. And then we have, what else did we have? Name, age, is that it? What did we have? I can actually just go check user name, age, yeah, and then ID will be auto implemented. Sure, okay. We go back here, and then we had address. Address is going to be a new address. And then we had city, right? City was, let's say, Gothenburg. And then we had street, yeah, street. And we'll do, I don't know, Majorna 123. And then we'll do state, and the state can be, I don't know, we don't have states in Sweden, so I'm just going to write potato here. And then the zip code could be 42440. Sure, I think that's it for an address. So now we have our now we actually have a user, right? And we can add this user to our database. So we'll do db.addUser, and this takes in a name of the collection we want to put it in, and let's put this in something we call users, right? And then we'll send in our user. Boom, there we go. Let's press play, and let's see if anything actually happens. So the application ran. Now I actually have to open my database to check it. One moment. Okay, I just refreshed my database, so here it is. I just emptied it, right? So I have nothing in my database. This is the MongoDB Compass. You can use this UI to access your local database. I'm going to run this program again. Now you can see I have 3 databases: admin, config, local. We run the program. It ran. I'll press refresh, and nothing in here right now. So something went wrong. Let me just check. Oh yeah, I'm not calling this method or this function from here. There we go. So now the code ran. I'll open my Mongo Compass. I'll press refresh. There we go. User DB is there. Users, and we can see one user is here with the address. Here you can see potato. So we successfully added data to our database, which is nice. So that's add perfect. Now I'm going to write the code for the rest of the methods or the functions, and before I run anything, I'm going to write them, and then I'm going to run everything at once rather than writing running. So anyways, the add function worked without problems. So let's do the get users, right? So we'll do users equals or my list of users equal to db get users, it was called, get users, and the string or the table name is not user db, the table name is users, right? Users, yes, exactly. Oops, users, yeah. So that should do that, and then that's kind of it. We could also do just a console write line to see what was found, right? So we'll do we actually have to make a for each loop if we want to demonstrate all of them, and I can do that. For each var item in users, there we go, console dot write line, and I can just write out the do string interpolation user, and then we'll do his name or the person's name, user dot or item dot name was found in the database. Sure. So that's get the users or get all users. Now we'll do get user by ID. So we'll do same here. So var result equals db get user get user by ID, and this takes in two arguments. It takes in the table, which is users, right? And then it takes in a grid. So I need a grid ID, and in order for me to do that, I can just access one of the users from my list. But in order for me to do that, I actually have to add people to my list, and I have to run the program. But we'll just assume that there are users in this list. So I'm going to do users because I need a grid, right? And I'll do the first one dot ID. There we go. So it will get the first user basically from this list, right? And we don't have to. Well, let's do a console write line found user, and then just this time we'll just do this because now I'm lazy, and we'll do result dot name. Sure. Right, get user by ID, and that will it will be a result. Yep, get user by ID. Perfect. Now we'll do update the user. So this one, update user. Yeah, yeah. So this one is db dot update user, and here we'll just say, so oops, my bad. First it wants the table or the collection, and that's users, my bad, users. And then which user do we want to update, and we'll just send in let's send in the first user, right? User 0. There we go. So this method will update the user, and then to delete the user, we'll do db.delete user, and then we'll do the table, which is users, and which user do we want to delete. Let's delete the first user, users 0. There we go. All the functions now are there, and it should work. Let's add some data to the database. So I've run this program once. I'm running it again. Now we added another user to the database, same user, sure, but another one. And then we'll run it one more time. So now we should have 3 users in our database. So here's our database. I'll press refresh here, and you see we have now 3 documents, right? 3 documents, same kind, but still 3. That's fine. So we see that the add works perfect. Now let's do let's comment this one out, and let's get all the users. So get users, sure. So this one should write out how many we have in the database. There we go. User test was found in the database, so we found 3. Perfect. So that works. And then we'll do which one was the next one? It was get user by ID. Get users get user by ID. There we go. Let's call this one and let's just comment out. No, let's leave that for let's leave it. Get user by ID is going to return found user test, so it found 1. It's the first one. It's all the same, but whatever. And then we'll do update a user, right? So now we'll update the user. Update user. This should change the name of a user to potato, I think. So user test was found. Now we didn't show anything with it, but I can show you in the database that if I now refresh this, one of these will be potato, or the first one. You see, potato. So it actually did update it, but I didn't do a console write line. So it did update it. So here you go, potato. And now I will do the last function, which is delete. Delete the user, and that will delete the first user, and then potato should actually go away. So we run the program, we refresh, there we go. So full CRUD functionality implemented, right? So that's good, that's perfect. Now it's time to actually host this on Azure and cloudify it with CosmosDB, right? So let's navigate to the portal. So in the portal, we want to create a service, and we'll do CosmosDB. So Azure CosmosDB. So Azure CosmosDB is Azure resource to handle kind of document-based databases, right? Like MongoDB. So here we'll press create. And I'm going to choose Azure CosmosDB for MongoDB. There are some different API that you can choose between. This one is the one I will choose, Azure CosmosDB for MongoDB. I'll press create. I'm going to do request unit RU based account, basically. Create. And then I'm going to create a new resource group. I'm going to call this CosmosDB demo RG. Sure. Going to press OK. And then before I do anything, I'm going to change this capacity mode from provision throughout to serverless, right? And then I'm going to make an account name. So this let's call this Robbins or my CosmosDB or something. Sure. Name is not available, so it needs to be a unique name. I hate unique stuff because I don't know, I choke. Let's call this potatoes for you, right? Sure. And then a location is going to be West Europe. You should name your account name something relevant, right? But yeah, whatever. And then I'm just going to press review and create. There we go. And then you press create. After that, I'm going to navigate to my resource group, and I'm going to wait for my resource to actually get finished creating. I think it can take maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, or something like that. But yeah, CosmosDB is, or MongoDB is actually a very good database. I love NoSQL databases. And I like working with CosmosDB because it's so easy to work with. It's so easy to start off with. It's so easy to implement changes. It's so easy to go from local database management to a cloud provider. It's super duper easy. And even if you don't have access to Azure, right, you can use their cloud provider, which is Atlas, where you can have a free tier. You don't need to have a credit card or anything like that. But it's super duper easy. Like the only thing you need to do is to change your connection string, which you do in your constructor, and you go from having local development to cloud development. Is so beautiful. Anyways, my resource has been finished created. I'm going to press it. There we go. Now the first time you enter this CosmosDB account, it will actually take you to this quick start menu, right? And from this quick start menu, you actually, congratulations, your Azure's Cosmo, blah, blah, you actually get instructions on how to get going, right? Depending on what kind of, how you're developing, right? So I'm using .NET, and here you can connect to your existing Mongo blah, blah, blah. Basically, the only thing you need right now is this connection string. I can take this connection string, right? I can copy it, and from with this connection string, I can go to my Visual Studio, and I go to my constructor Mongo CRUD here, and in here I'll add like this, and I'll put my connection string in here. You should make this private, right? You should put it like an environment variable or in your app settings or something like that. This is just to demonstrate fast, and I will remove this, so it doesn't matter if this leaks or not. But basically that's all I need to actually access the database, right? And I will show you guys. So if I go to the Data Explorer, well, first I need to open up the network. So I'll go to the Networking tab, and yeah, it's already opened, right? So public access is already enabled, so everybody should be able to access it. I will go to my Data Explorer to show you guys there is nothing in this database currently. So here's my database, right? And you can see there is nothing in it. So this Data tab is empty, right? So let's go back to this to our program here. Let's go here and let's comment this out and this. So the only thing we want to do here is we want to run add user. Now note, the only change I did in my code was I added a connection string, right? Let's run add user. Okay, so we'll run add user. Here we go. The program will be running. There we go. The program ran. And now I go back to Azure, I refresh, and I now have a user DB. And the reason it's called user DB is because that's what I specified, right? I specified it when I created it from my program.cs, here, user DB, right? And the reason these are called users, this document or this collection here, is because I specified it. Here, users, right? So here we can see, if I open this documents, you will see there is now one user in my database. There we go, one document. Here's the document, the test, blah, 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 23. Let's do the same thing. So let's add another one. There we go, it was added. We go here, we refresh, it should be 2. There we go, 2, you see? And let's get all the users. There we go, so let's get all the users, and then our console should write out 2 usernames, right? Or 2 persons. There we go, user test was found in the database. So if that works, everything else works. So basically that's it. I kind of wanted to keep this video short, and hopefully it was short. Now you've seen how to create a CRUD application using MongoDB in .NET, and you've also seen how you can take this application and use the CosmosDB database on Azure to manage your database. Thank you guys. Bye bye.